You ever had a thought stuck in your head or felt like you had to do something over and over again to feel okay? That's a little bit what it's like for someone to have OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. OCD is a condition where people have unwanted thoughts called obsessions and feel driven to do certain actions called compulsions, often to make the thoughts go away or to feel less anxious. Scientists are still trying to figure out exactly what causes OCD, but what we do know is that it's partially influenced by genetic factors. That means things passed down in your genes, your body's instruction book, from your parents. Studies looking at twins shows that genes play a pretty big role in whether or not someone might develop OCD. To find the genes linked to OCD, scientists use a method called genome-wide association study, or GWAS. Imagine comparing the DNA instruction books from lots and lots of people with OCD to the instruction books of lots of people without it. They look for tiny differences like spelling mistakes or variations in the instructions that show up more often in OCD groups. This big study we're talking about looked at over 53,000 people with OCD and over 2 million people without. That's the largest study for OCD ever. Using so many people helps them find even the smallest genetic differences. Using this big comparison, the scientists found 30 specific locations on our chromosomes that are linked to a higher risk of getting OCD. These spots are called loci, and finding 30 of them is a big step compared to earlier studies. These 30 spots help scientists figure out which specific genes might be involved. They found hundreds of possibilities but narrowed it down to 25 genes that are most likely the candidates. Some interesting ones include CTNND1, WR6, and DALRD3. CTNND1 seems important for how brain cells stick together. They also found genes in a special area called the MHC region, which is also involved in our immune system. It's really important to know that no single gene causes OCD on its own. OCD is what scientists call polygenic. This means it's influenced by many different genes, and each gene only adds a very small amount to a person's risk. Think of it like baking a cake. The final flavor depends on small amounts of many different ingredients, not just one super strong ingredient. Scientists estimate about 11,500 genetic changes together, which can explain most of the common genetic risks for OCD. Where are the genes doing their work? The study shows that the genes linked to OCD risk are more active in specific parts of the brain and in certain types of brain cells. This helps connect the genetic findings to what we already know about how the brain works in people with OCD. The genes are linked to activity in parts of the brain like the cortex and hippocampus, which are involved in thinking and emotions, and the striatum, which are important for movement and habits, especially since they found a strong link to brain cells called the Medium Spiny Neurons, or MSNs, in the striatum. MSNs are key players in how we form habits, like the repetitive actions in OCD compulsions. They even found a link to the hypothalamus, which helps turn feelings like fear into physical responses. These areas match what brain scans often show in people with OCD. The study also found the genetic risk for OCD is shared with the risk for many other conditions. The strongest genetic links with other conditions often seen with OCD were anxiety, depression, anorexia, Tourette syndrome, and PTSD. There's also a strong link with neuroticism, especially the tendency to worry a lot. Interestingly, they found negative links with some conditions, meaning genes that increase OCD risk might decrease the risk for things like inflammatory bowel diseases or lower body weight. This also helps understand why people often have OCD with other conditions. The study about genes in the MHC region, which controls our immune system, is really interesting. It adds to the idea that there might be a connection between OCD and conditions where the immune system is overactive, like some autoimmune disorders. Although the study also found a surprisingly negative link, like the inflammatory bowel disease, it shows that it's a complicated picture. So, what does this all mean? Finding these genes and understanding where they are active in the brain is a huge step forward. It helps us get a much clearer picture of the genetic basis of OCD. This research could potentially help us better identify people who might be at risk, understanding the biology behind the different symptoms, and even finding new ways to treat OCD, maybe by targeting the specific genes or brain pathways involved. They might even look at existing medicines that target these genes to see if they could help people with OCD. OCD is linked to many genes, brain areas, and other conditions. This study reveals common genetic factors, but there's still more to learn, especially about rare gene changes and how they interact. Scientists are studying larger groups to keep piecing the puzzle together and help improve lives. If you believe in the power of knowledge, consider supporting Pratham USA, a nonprofit that helps millions of children in India learn to read, write, and build better futures through innovative education programs. Link in the description below. Thank you so much. Bye!